fortunate change in rhetoric, in how politicians behave. And it's degraded over the last 10 years. And with a president in the US, with a prime minister in the UK, just following this mendacious, disingenuous, dishonest politics, and just making sure they could get away with things, not get caught, or if they got caught, deny everything.
Yes.
And the media just lapping it up.
Yeah.
It's just, I just don't understand. And I'm not going to sit here and create new conspiracy theories. I think we have enough of those on the internet already. But there are, connections between where we've got to and the behaviours of institutions and of individuals and of parties.
Yes.
And not just me. I think there's vast swathes of the British public and also public around the world. They've had enough. They've realised actually that they have more power than they believed they had, or they were told that they had. And I am that proof.
It's interesting you say that. You are the proof, the manifestation of that belief that things can be changed. Let's go back to the election, and I know flipping back to events basically a few weeks back. When you were canvassing and campaigning and knocking on doors and speaking to all the residents, how sure were you that you would get a majority of 6,934 to be precise? I mean, that's incredible. That's majorities which many mainstream party MPs would be saying, well, we're in healthy territory here, we'll probably serve another term as well.
So all the credit for me being elected goes to the people of Dewsbury and Batley, and to all my campaign team and the volunteers. We had 3.5 weeks. So just to go back a few more days. So when Rishi Sunak announced the election date of the 4th of July, I hadn't been selected. I hadn't even submitted my application. And what our community did was they set up a steering committee and a group that was put in charge of defining a fair process that would be open to all, to try and select a capable and worthy and trustworthy candidate.
Sure.
And because of Ramadan, because I was out of the country straight afterwards, I completed my application 2 days after that announcement of the election. And at the time, there were 2 groups, one in Batley, one in Dewsbury. But within a couple of days, they'd merged and said, we're going to have one process and we're going to be united. And I applaud them, I applaud those people who realised that the only way to make a difference is to have unity of purpose. So I applied to both initially, but then there was a single group. And we had interviews, and the hustings happened 9 days after the election day was announced. So we'd lost 9 days of campaigning, technically. Then Sunday, whatever it was, the date, we had the hustings. They said they needed 24 hours. But they called us back in 1 hour, all the shortlisted candidates, and they declared me as the winner or the selected candidate.
I'm going to stop you just there. Viewers, we're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. We're at a very critical juncture. You're going to join me straight after this break.
This adhan is brought to you by Orphans in Need, bringing hope for a better tomorrow.
عن أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا سمعتم النداء فقولوا مثل ما يقول المؤذن.
On the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whenever you hear the adhan, say as the mu'adhin is saying.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
O Allah, owner of this perfect call and owner of this prayer to be performed, bestow upon Muhammad al-Wasila and al-Fadila and send him upon a praised platform which you have promised him. Verily, you never fail in your promise.
This adhan is brought to you by Orphans in Need, bringing hope for a better tomorrow.
5 Pillars is not just any ordinary game show. It's a unique platform to deepen our understanding of Islam and strengthen our connection with our faith.
I'm going to win.
50 points. Give that to me.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Pass. Pass as well.
The losing team out that way.
5 Pillars is not just any ordinary game show. It's a unique platform to deepen our understanding of Islam and strengthen our connection with our faith.
I'm going to win.
50 points. Give that to me.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Pass.
Pass as well.
The losing team out that way.
هذا فتى قريش ومصارع وفارس وسفيرها ولسانها إذا نافع.
أنت يا علي احرص على محمد أكثر من حرصك على نفسك.
فمن كان على أمر من أمور المسلمين فليتق الله فيهم.
Five Pillars is not just any ordinary game show. It's a unique platform to deepen our understanding of Islam and strengthen our connection with our faith.
I'm going to win.
50 points. Give that to me.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Pass.
Pass as well.
The losing team out that way.
Islam Channel, your gateway to the world of Islam. Inspiring, informing, entertaining. On TV, online, on our brand new state-of-the-art apps. With original content for a Muslim audience and inspirational Islamic programs from all around the Muslim world. Watch live, watch offline, create your playlist, watch across all devices. Download now from wherever you usually get your apps. Islam Channel. Watch anytime, anywhere.
5 Pillars is not just any ordinary game show. It's a unique platform to deepen our understanding of Islam and strengthen our connection with our faith.
I'm going to win.
50 points. Give that to me.
Oh my God, I don't know.
Pass.
Pass as well.
The losing team out that way.
Muslims, we are, by definition, hard-working people.
Five Pillars is not just any ordinary game show. It's a unique platform to deepen our understanding of Islam and strengthen our connection with our faith.
I'm keen to win.
50 points. Give that to me.
Oh my god, I don't know.
Pass.
Pass as well.
The losing team out that way.
Islam Channel, your gateway to the world of Islam. Inspiring, informing, entertaining. On TV, online, on our brand new state-of-the-art apps. With original content for a Muslim audience and inspirational Islamic programs from all around the Muslim world. Watch live, watch offline, create your playlist, watch across all devices. Download now from wherever you usually get your apps. Islam Channel. Watch anytime, anywhere.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to In Conversation With. Today we've got none other than the independent MP for Dewsbury and Batley, Iqbal Mohamed. And Iqbal, we were speaking, or you were telling us, shall I say, about your selection 9 days in to the general election campaign. Lots of canvassing still to do, lots of work still to do. Many of the seats around the country had already selected their independent or Labour or Conservative candidates. Yet you were down to the final hour and you were telling us, please continue.
So the hustings finished and an hour later they called us back and the panel of 12, 7 brothers and 5 sisters, I believe, they declared me as the selected candidate. All the other candidates pledged their support directly to me. They weren't going to stand against me. And then that's when my campaign really started. At the time, we had Ammar Anwar, Councillor Ammar Anwar. He had been elected 2 years as a Labour candidate. He'd resigned from Labour due to the Gaza war. And he had declared himself as the independent for Dewsbury and Batley several weeks prior, or definitely on the day of the announcement from Rishi Sunak. Running with 2 independents, it's just suicide. You're never going to make any difference and it will just make it easier for one of the mainstream parties to win. May God bless him, within a couple of days, his team were at the hustings, they checked the process, they actually marked the candidates, they had me down as the winner and they told him, Iqbal's the winner, if they select Iqbal, that means it's a fair process and you have to drop out. So, alhamdulillah, they selected me and that... And I think without his sacrifice and his stepping down, we wouldn't be sat here today.
Well, that's very magnanimous of you. You said you did a video after your selection. Shortlisting.
So up until shortlisting, I applied and I had to do a video for the application, but it wasn't public. And maybe I wasn't going to get shortlisted and creating a video, wasting time on something that's not going to help. As soon as I got shortlisted, I then spent a couple of days making a video, and that introduced me to the wider population in Dewsbury and Batley. And that went around, people watched it, and they asked people about me. There were enough people in Dewsbury and Batley who knew me, but not as well as other people or some of the other candidates.
Okay, I'll stop you there. Let's watch a clip from that video.
Great Britain is broken and not so great anymore. The United Kingdom is divided and isolated. Our democracy has been hijacked. The Tories and Labour are accessories to a 75-year-plus genocide in the whole of Palestine. All public services have been run into the ground. Dewsbury and Batley have been neglected and forgotten. Enough is enough. The people need to take our democracy back. Dear residents and friends of Batley and Dewsbury, hello, assalamu alaikum, and may peace be on you. I am Iqbal Mohamed, and I am excited to announce that I have submitted my application to both NCAG and Independent Kirklees for selection as your independent candidate for the upcoming parliamentary elections. I am a proud first-generation British Indian Muslim, born and raised in Dewsbury Moor and educated at Boothroyd, Westborough High, Huddersfield New College and Durham University. I am an engineer, director and management consultant who has been involved in charity and community work since the late 90s, and I have been an online political activist for the past few years. I've worked across the UK, Europe and around the world, and I am proud to tell people I am from Dewsbury. So why am I applying? I'm not applying to become a politician. I'm not applying for the title, fame or for personal gain. I believe politics and parliament is solely about public service, improving people's lives and making the world a safer and better place for all. I'm applying to be a public servant for Batley and Dewsbury and for the honour to serve all residents, be your voice and help address your needs and concerns without fear, favour, corruption or compromising my faith or the principles of integrity, humility and accountability. I believe that politics done correctly is one of the highest forms of public service and an act of worship. I am a deeply passionate, caring and God-fearing person who will work as hard as possible to tackle the ever-increasing poverty, inequality and widespread injustices in our community, our country and beyond. Britain has been sabotaged and broken for many years. The NHS, education, benefits and social care, public services, public transport, civil liberties, the list goes on. Our democracy has been hijacked by the corrupt, selfish, pro-war, pro-rich, racist elite and is being used against us. The population has lost faith and hope that things can get better, but I strongly and passionately believe that they can, and I can help be a force for good. I've been blessed with great opportunities, valuable and diverse.
So that was your campaign video?
That was my shortlisting video, my
Absolutely.
first ever
Yeah.
social media video in my life.
Well, I mean, when I say campaign, I meant your campaign to become the actual selected candidate. It comes across as somebody who's very passionate, somebody who is very confident in themselves, knows themselves, is not shying away from what they stand for and what their beliefs are. Yet I do see a lot of outreach to different parts of the community. You've done quite a lot in that short segment, 3 minutes and 40 odd seconds that you said, you know, that's the length of it. Was that scripted or did you just deliver that as it came, or were you given training? Because it seems to be something which a lot of other MPs would be quite proud of, thinking, well, I've done something quite good.
So I've been saying these words for several years to my family, to my friends, to my contacts, my colleagues at work, and it's what I believed in.
Yeah.
It was scripted, but it was scripted by me.
Yeah.
It was recorded. You know, I was the script writer, the director, the actor, the editor.
Subhanallah.
But it was all me. So that is a really accurate reflection of who I am and what I believed. And the way it ended up being that good was blessings from Allah. And, you know, I just can't explain how it ended up being as it was.
You've mentioned an organisation in your video, NCAG. It seems very familiar to what was set up originally in East London called RCAG, the Redbridge Community Action Group. And I did some research and found out that NCAG had been in touch with RCAG and they'd had some sort of communication to give examples of good practice. How did NCAG manage to deliver this, i.e. deliver you as the candidate, a successful winning candidate, in such a short space of time? Do you think that is something which, was this like a crescendo, you know, where all the factors come together?
No. So actually, we need to go back further. So NCAG was one of the groups and Independent Kirklees was another one.
Yeah.
and they both merged for the general election. But they were formed in December last year.
Right.
In readiness for the general election at some point in 2024. And their work that they did was so great and so positive that they ended up having 6 worthy candidates put forward for the local elections in May. So, and there was no conflict in the community. There was only one candidate per ward. The people were qualified, they were capable, they were passionate about community work, and they were wanting to go into the council for the right reasons.
Okay.
And unfortunately, one of them had to drop out for personal reasons, but the 5 that remained in Dewsbury Batley and Heckman-Wyke, they all defeated Labour. So my victory, or my campaign and the result, built on the work of all the 6 or 5 councillors, their campaign teams, their community, and I can't thank them enough. And what I think we're guided to decide quite quickly was we have a proven process in each ward.
Yes.
They've just won. Why change it? So my campaign strategy was each of the ward leads did what they did in May. And we got the same result.
That sounds very, very generous of you to give so much praise to many others. I know in the political game, it's very rare that somebody gives credit to others. It's always, that they want to be the centre of attention, centre of gravity. But what I've heard from you so far is you are sharing the praise, you're sharing the credit for what happened, and you're almost like a figurehead for that community in Dewsbury and Batley. As the independent member of Parliament, yes, you've obviously got your own ideas, which we'll come on to now, in terms of what work you're going to do over the next 4 or 5 years. Where does that come from? I mean, are those values that were instilled in you by your parents, your upbringing, perhaps your school or your Islamic education? Where do you derive that from?
So I've been brought up with proper, I'm missing the word, values of honesty, integrity, appreciation, compassion.
Yeah.
And we talk about stealing and taking something that's not yours. That doesn't just apply to property or items or money. It applies to taking credit for other people's work.
Sure.
This is un-Islamic, it's unethical, okay? And all the councillors and all the community that supported me, even the non-Muslims, when we had our kick-off meetings, we had that principle that you can't do good.
Yeah.
You can't ever do good by doing bad. The end just does not justify the means.
The means, yeah.
The means have to be pure. The means have to be correct. The means have to be ethical. The means have to be honest. And then maybe with God's help, you can achieve a positive outcome. And all my team, they were on board. We never looked at the other candidates or their social media campaigns or their rumour mongering or whatever. There was hardly any. It was quite a clean campaign in Dewsbury Batley. People did try to play silly, childish politics, which, I think there was never a time for that, and now it's just, it's laughable. So we just focused on our objective, our constituents, and how many doors could we knock? We had maps up in our campaign office. There was healthy internal competition around the wards, and there was like, we covered this much. But we did what we could, and we left the rest to God.
And what was the buzz like? Did you have lots of people coming in? Did you have people from outside coming in, or were you quite a closed campaign?
So we had du'as, we had prayers from around the world.
Sure.
So I've got a good network, I've got a big family, but there was all these people with family in India, Pakistan, America, there was du'as happening. So we had a lot of prayers. We had people, most of the legwork and the work was done by local volunteers.
Yeah.
My friends and my campaign team and the community. The councillors led their wards, they had their people who basically adopted me and made me one of their own.
Wow.
They didn't differentiate. And there was this sense of family. Throughout the campaign, We were not the strongest in any field of campaigning, social media, press release, number of volunteers, how many doors did you knock, data. We may not have been the strongest in those areas, but I believe my campaign team and my community had the biggest heart in the whole of the United Kingdom.
Wow.
So they were out with their heart and soul for whatever minutes, hours or days that they campaigned for us. We did have people from Huddersfield, from the region, not within the constituency. I had volunteers come from Bradford who were from Palestine, Jordan, Syria. We had help from the Muslim Vote. And so whoever helped in whatever way they did, I cannot thank them enough. May God reward them for their efforts and their support in this life and in the afterlife.
Ameen. May Allah accept your dua. Let's move on to what comes next, the next 5 years. You're ethically a very strong individual. You've got your morals, which many people say, in the right place. How are you planning to make an impact on the single biggest issue for many of your constituents, which was and is the ongoing genocide in Gaza by Israel? Firstly. And secondly, the second prong, and you can move on to it as and when you wish. You are a member of parliament in this country. What's your, say, 2 or 3 key objectives to improve the lives of your constituents and perhaps the people of this country?
So the issue of Gaza, there are tens of thousands of people working towards some way of stopping the killing.
Yeah.
You know, from the bombs, from the missiles, from the tanks, from the explosive, but also from starvation, from lack of water, from lack of sanitation, from lack of basic essentials of life. And Britain, you know, still, even though we left Europe, you know, we are one of the founding members of the UN and
Sure.
have a big voice and a big say. We are allies with Israel. And I don't think the previous government did enough. They could have done much, much more, much, much quicker to try and reduce the number of deaths and try and move quickly towards some kind of peace negotiation. Okay. The new government, I want to give them a fresh start. I think the people of Britain should give them a fresh start. They were in opposition. I don't know what pressures and what influences were on them at the time and why they said what they did. I hope they regret some of the egregious things that they said and the inhumane things that were said.
Yeah.
But now they have a chance to make up for the mistakes, make up for the lack of authority or power in opposition, because they are running our country.
What should they do then? What's the first thing you'd say Keir Starmer should do?
So I would like to acknowledge the positive sort of noises that came out earlier this week. So we had a march in London, and I was there with Jeremy Corbyn, Andrew Feinstein, you know, Leanne Mohammed, and other the ambassador to the UK from Palestine, Hassam. So I'm there. I got an opportunity to speak, but I just repeated what had already been said a million times. But the rhetoric has changed, and I believe for the better. And I just would encourage them to now continue down that path, but as fast as possible.
But are you calling for example, an embargo on arms to Israel? Are you calling for trade sanctions? Are you calling for the immediate recognition of Palestine? Are you calling for example, for all goods from the settlements to be banned from being imported into this country? Those are some of the things that many people on the pro-Palestinian front will be saying are basics that need to be done, let alone moving on. Do you think they can achieve that?
I think so. I think so. So we are a sovereign state.
Yeah.
You know, we are the government has been elected by our people, our citizens, not by citizens of another country or by leaders of another country. And we should have the confidence and we have the authority to make our own decisions and do the work of the people and to respond to the people's demands. Several months ago, 76% of the British population were in favour of a ceasefire. This was before the election.
Yeah.
I'm sure that number's only gone up since. So an immediate ceasefire, not tomorrow,
well,
not
the
next
Lancet
week.
said the figure could be over 180,000. When
dead or missing.
Yeah.
But every day there's another few thousand or a few hundred that are dying from starvation.
Yeah.
And another few thousand or a few hundred dying from being, hit with bombs and missiles. So I've appealed to the humanity of our new Prime Minister and of the Labour government on Saturday at the march, and just asking them to do everything in their power to stop the killing. So step one is forget everything else, stop the killing, open the borders and get all the aid that they need to get in to address the starvation, the malnourishment, and to allow treatment of the victims of the bombing and of dysentery and other illnesses that are born through the collective punishment that has been meted out on them. So all the things that you listed, they are legitimate responses to an aggression that we have seen.
Okay.
Not just for the last 9 months, but for the last 75 years.
See, those watching, and we are watched by people across the globe, certainly Palestinians watching this, will be very, very happy with the language you as a member of parliament, a lawmaker, is saying in Westminster. You are actually supporting the things which many members of parliament are scared of doing because of a very, very strong pro-Israel lobby that operates in parliament. Let's move on to domestic matters. As the Member of Parliament for Dewsbury and Batley, what's your offer to constituents? Many of those aren't Muslims. They're Yorkshire men and women who, don't practice the same faith, perhaps have different moral beliefs or ethical values to what you have. How are you going to represent them?
So I have been elected by, or for, the whole of Dewsbury and Batley.
Yeah.
By 53% of voters that came out and by 40% of the vote. There is a big, big chunk that feel disillusioned and have given up on politics.
Many who voted reform.
Many who voted reform, but I'm appealing to those who didn't feel that their vote mattered.
Yeah.
Nothing was going to change. We met these people on the doorstep and they rolled their eyes and saying, you know what, all politicians are the same. We're not going to vote. We don't care who it is and what they're saying and what they're promising.
Yeah.
So I just want to give that message that regardless of whether you didn't vote for anyone or you voted for another party or you voted for the independent, I am the MP for every single resident of Dewsbury and Batley, and I will try and help each and every one the best I can in all their different challenges. The Palestine issue is a global peace, justice and humanitarian issue. It's not an Islamic or un-Islamic issue. And many non-Muslims are completely on the side of humanity and having peace. They are sick of billions of pounds of our taxpayer dollars being spent on these illegal wars or supporting regimes, not just Israel, but elsewhere, that are out to kill, that have been killing innocent people. So we should be a force for promoting peace and justice through negotiation, not through selling or donating arms. And the local issues, there are people on my street and on my estate who are not able to feed their children 2 or 3 times a day.
Wow.
In winter, they're not able to turn on their heating. They have to go to bed with coats and socks and whatever clothing they have.
The cost of living.
The cost of living crisis. The number of food banks has mushroomed over the last 8 years, 8 to 10 years. All this in a so-called first world country is completely unacceptable. And we as a community, I think there's lots of people running food banks and supporting these people, and may God bless them. But they are doing the work of the government of this country. The government should be ashamed that we have food banks, that children are going hungry, that they have to make free school meals a political football, and make statements racist or discriminatory against public or celebrity figures like Marcus Rashford, who are trying to do some good. So the whole toxicity around politics, around this lack of empathy, we need to stop this. We are all human. We all have human values, and we need to go and find those within ourselves and start applying them again in everything we do, at home for our family, for our neighbours, for our constituents, for our country, and for the whole world.
And very finally, what's your message to somebody watching this in their living rooms saying, is it really possible for them to make an impact on the world? You know, somebody who's perhaps at university or maybe at college, maybe somebody who's a little bit further in their life and seeing the issues that you've just highlighted in their communities. What's your message to them?
So my message is that don't lose hope. We do have a democracy. It's not fully the way it should be, but there have been constituencies around the UK who have demonstrated that, or have realised that they've been deceived for so many years.
Yeah.
They've been told they don't have power, they don't have a say, they can't influence what's happening in our country or abroad. But we have 5 independent candidates who have been elected, and that's proof that it is possible. These constituencies have taken their democracy back. Their MPs are representing them and their voices, and we will be the most hardest working and the most politely loudest MPs in Parliament. We will work with every single other MP to make a difference, a positive difference. We will sit across the table from anybody who wants to help us, our constituents, or our country, or the world. And we should always engage and use our democratic right to vote. And we shouldn't be bound to any party. It's not like supporting a football team. You know, we all support, the English support England in the Euros, and we should, regardless of how they may perform. And I'm praying that we bring football home, and England, you know, can bring that trophy back home.
Yeah.
And I would be one of the happiest if they did. But God forbid, last time we got to the final, we don't disown our team. We are loyal to our team because they tried their best. Parties are different. It's not about loyalty, it's about what they stand for and what they did and what they're proposing to do.
Okay.
So they should always look at those 3 things and go out and vote.
Iqbal Mohamed, you've been an absolute revelation. It's been an honour for me to do this conversation with you. Hopefully you'll be back. Folks, I'll leave it at that. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more from Iqbal Mohamed, the MP for Dewsbury and Batley, over the next few years. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.